If someone told me a year ago that my wife would be the reason I stopped believing in love, I would have laughed in their face. We were the kind of couple people pointed to and said, "That's real love." But somewhere between late-night shifts, missed dinners, and silent mornings, that love started to slip away. I didn't notice it at first, or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to believe it. Love doesn't break like glass, it erodes, one quiet evening at a time. "Hey, you're home early," I said when Claire walked in, hanging her purse on the hook. She didn't answer right away, just toed off her heels and sighed like the world was on her shoulders. "Tough day?" I asked. "You could say that." Her voice was flat. She brushed past me toward the kitchen. I followed. "You want me to heat up dinner?" "I made pasta." "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten all day." I said I'm fine, Ethan. Her tone stung more than I wanted to admit. I leaned against the counter, trying to sound casual. "You've been saying that a lot lately." She stopped halfway to the fridge, hand frozen on the handle. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said quickly. "Just. I miss talking to you, that's all." She exhaled, grabbed a bottle of water, and twisted the cap like it was personally offending her. "I'm just tired. This promotion's killing me." "I know," I said softly. "I just wish you'd let me help." She gave me a look, half pity, half irritation. "There's nothing you can do, Ethan." That night, she went to bed before I finished cleaning up. When I walked into the room, she was already asleep, or pretending to be. I watched her chest rise and fall, the blue light of her phone screen reflecting off her face. I whispered, "Good night," even though she couldn't hear me. The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Again. Claire was already dressed, hair perfectly done, eyes outlined just enough to look effortlessly professional. She was scrolling on her phone, smiling faintly. "Morning," I said, rubbing my eyes. "Morning," she replied, barely glancing up. "You're dressed early. Big meeting today." I smiled. "You look great." She hummed a noncommittal thanks, still staring at her screen. I hesitated. "Who are you texting this early?" She froze for a fraction of a second, so fast I almost missed it. Then she said, "Just Linda. She's reminding me about some reports." I nodded, pretending to believe her. Work never ends, huh?" She finally looked up, smiling thinly. "You sound jealous." "Of your phone?" "Maybe." She rolled her eyes. "Don't start, Ethan." "I'm not starting anything." "Good. Because I don't have time for another argument." There it was again, another. Like she had a counter running somewhere. I swallowed whatever words wanted to come out and just said, "Drive safe, okay?" She grabbed her keys and walked out without another word. That evening, I tried something different. I set up dinner with candles. Simple, maybe corny, but I just wanted one normal night. When she walked in, she blinked in surprise. "What's all this?" "Dinner. With your husband. Remember him?" She sighed, dropping her bag. "Ethan, I'm exhausted." "I know. That's why I cooked." "Sit, relax, talk to me." "No work talk, just us." She hesitated before sitting. "You didn't have to go through all this trouble." "It's not trouble if it's for you." For a second, her face softened. She picked at her food. "It's good." "I'll take that as a win," I said with a small laugh. She smiled faintly but didn't meet my eyes. The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, it was full, heavy. I decided to break it. "Remember our first anniversary? When we got lost driving to the lake?" She nodded, chewing slowly. "You were so mad at me. You missed the exit twice," she said, smiling a little. "I did. But you laughed eventually." She put her fork down and looked at me. "Ethan, what are we doing?" The question hit harder than I expected. "What do you mean?" "This." She gestured to the table. "Dinner, forced conversation, pretending everything's fine." "I'm not pretending," I said. "I'm trying." "I know," she said quietly. But it feels like I'm living two different lives. Then let me into the other one, I said. Let me help. She shook her head. You wouldn't understand. Try me. Her phone buzzed. She looked down and instantly unlocked it. Who's that? I asked before I could stop myself. She hesitated. Work. You always say that. Because it's true, she snapped. God, Ethan, can you stop acting paranoid for one night? I'm not paranoid, Claire. I'm your husband. I just want to know why you'd rather talk to your phone than to me. She pushed her chair back, standing up. I'm done with this conversation. I stood too. Then when can we have it? Tomorrow? Next month? When you're done pretending everything's okay? Don't do this, she said, voice trembling, not with sadness, but anger. I have enough stress without you adding to it. And I have enough silence without you subtracting from it, I said softly. Her jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. Maybe. But I miss my wife. She looked at me, eyes tired, distant. Then maybe you should find her. Because I don't even know who I am anymore. She grabbed her purse and walked out of the room. I heard the bathroom door close, the faint sound of running water, her usual way of ending an argument. Later that night, I found her asleep again, back turned, phone still glowing faintly on the nightstand. A text banner flashed across the screen before it dimmed. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. My heart stopped. I stared at it, frozen. Her phone buzzed again, and the screen went dark. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I just sat there in the dark, listening to the sound of her breathing. It was the loneliest sound I'd ever heard. Claire, I called from the couch as she rushed past me one evening, hair tied up, perfume sharp and new. You're leaving now? It's already 9. She didn't slow down. There's a client dinner. I told you. I muted the TV. On a Tuesday? Her heels clicked against the floor. Yes, Ethan. Clients don't care what day it is. I tried to smile, to make it sound like a joke. You sure it's clients and not a secret modeling gig? She turned, lips pressed thin. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said quickly. You just look, really dressed up. Her eyes narrowed. So what, I can't look nice for work now? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Her tone hit like a slap, sharp, impatient, full of something I couldn't name. I stared at the floor, searching for the right words. I just miss how things used to be. That's all. She sighed. Not everything's about you, Ethan. I didn't say it was. But you implied it. She grabbed her purse. I'm not doing this right now. Doing what? This. She gestured between us. The guilt trip every time I have to leave for work. I'm not. You are, she snapped, voice cracking. You don't get it. I'm doing all this for us. For us, I repeated, the words tasting bitter. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one left in this marriage? She froze for half a second, then turned toward the door. You're being dramatic. Maybe, I said quietly. Or maybe I'm just finally noticing. The door shut behind her with a soft click that felt louder than any argument. The house was too quiet after that, just the faint hum of the fridge and the ticking clock on the wall. I sat there for a while, staring at the empty hallway where she'd stood, wondering when she stopped smiling before she left. I poured myself a drink I didn't need and stared at the wedding photo on the mantel. Claire's eyes in that picture, bright, warm, unguarded, were nothing like the ones that had just looked at me. I used to think I could read her face like a book. Now it was in a language I didn't understand anymore. Around midnight, the door creaked open. I pretended to be asleep, but my heart was wide awake. She moved quietly, slipping off her heels, whispering something under her breath. Her phone buzzed once. She picked it up faster than I'd ever seen her move. Who's that? I asked without opening my eyes. She froze. What? Your phone, I said, turning to face her. Who's texting you this late? No one, she said too quickly. Just work. Work must really love you, I said, forcing a laugh. Ethan, please, she muttered, heading to the bathroom. Not tonight. I sat up. Then when, Claire? When do we actually talk? Tomorrow, she said through the door. I'm exhausted. But tomorrow never came. Not really. Each morning started the same way, her rushing, me reaching out, her pulling away. Every attempt to bridge the gap felt like stepping into quicksand. A few days later, I tried again. Hey, dinner tonight? Just us. No phones, no work, nothing. She didn't look up from her laptop. Can't. Deadline. You said that yesterday. And the day before, she said flatly. That's what happens when you're trying to get promoted. Promotion's not the only thing that matters. It is if you actually care about our future. Our future? I echoed. Claire, I'm sitting right here in the present, waiting for you. She finally looked up, her expression unreadable. You don't make it easy to talk to you, Ethan. I blinked. I'm the one trying. Trying to make me feel guilty? Yeah, you're doing great at that. Her words sliced deeper than she knew. I wanted to yell, to ask her why she'd changed, who she was becoming, but instead, I just nodded. You're right. I'm sorry. She paused, frowning like she didn't expect me to say that. Then she went back to typing. I watched her fingers move across the keyboard, fast and detached, like even her hands were trying to run away from me. That night, I lay awake, the glow of her phone lighting the room. She was smiling at the screen, a small, secret smile. The kind she hadn't given me in months. Who's making you smile like that? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She jumped. Jesus, Ethan. Don't sneak up on me. I was lying right here. She locked her phone. It's work. Work's pretty funny, huh? She glared. You're being paranoid. Am I? Yes, she snapped. Not everything is some big conspiracy. I swallowed. You used to talk to me about everything. Well, maybe you stopped listening. Her words stung because they weren't entirely wrong. Maybe I had missed things, small things. But not this. This felt different. This felt like the space between us had grown into something alive, something that breathed when we didn't. When she finally fell asleep, I picked up her phone. I didn't unlock it. I just stared at the black screen, my reflection staring back. My hand shook. I put it down. The next morning, she was already gone. A note on the counter read, "Breakfast's in the fridge. Have a good day. No, love you." Not even a heart. I sat there, eating cold eggs and pretending it didn't bother me. That evening, when she came home, I tried again. Claire, can we talk? Please. She sighed, setting her purse down. About what? Us. Her eyes softened for a split second, then hardened again. Ethan, I'm tired. So am I said. I'm tired of pretending we're okay. She rubbed her temples. You're making problems where there aren't any. Then why does it feel like we're on opposite sides of a wall? Her silence answered for her. I stepped closer. Just tell me if there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong, she said, voice steady but eyes darting away. Stop overthinking. I reached out to touch her arm. She flinched. Just slightly. But enough. That tiny recoil broke something in me I didn't even realize was fragile. Later that night, when she fell asleep, I looked at our wedding photo again. Her smile in it was wide and real. Mine too. Now, when I looked in the mirror, I saw the same face, but there were cracks running through it. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't tell if I was trying to fix her, or myself. Claire, are you working late again tonight? I asked, trying to sound casual as I leaned against the kitchen counter. She didn't look up from her phone. Yeah, we've got a system audit coming up. Everyone's staying late. That's the third time this week. So? Her voice snapped like a whip. You think I control the workload? I didn't say that, I muttered. I miss having dinner together. That's all. She sighed and finally put the phone down. Ethan, not this again. You know how much pressure I'm under. Pressure. That word had become her shield. Every argument, every excuse, always pressure. I get it, I said softly. But you barely talk to me anymore. You come home, you eat, and you pass out. It feels like we're roommates, not, I stopped myself. Not what? She challenged, crossing her arms. Not husband and wife. Her eyes narrowed. You're being dramatic. Maybe I am. I forced a smile. But you're my wife, Claire. I just want to feel close again. She rolled her eyes. Ethan, please don't make this about your feelings. I'm doing everything I can to keep this job stable. You act like I'm neglecting you on purpose. I never said that. Then stop guilt-tripping me. The words hit harder than I expected. My mouth went dry. I'm not. God, you always do this, she interrupted, grabbing her purse. You make me feel like I can't do anything right. That's not fair, I whispered. She didn't answer. She was already slipping on her heels, glancing at her reflection in the hallway mirror. Since when do you wear perfume to work? I asked before I could stop myself. Her hand froze mid-spray. Excuse me? I mean, you never used to. She turned, lips pressed tight. So now I can't wear perfume? I didn't say that, Claire. You're unbelievable. She stormed out before I could fix it, heels clicking across the floor, the door slamming hard enough to rattle the frames. I stood there, staring at the empty space she left behind, the faint trace of perfume still in the air, something sweet, expensive, not hers. Later that evening, I sat alone at the dinner table. The food had gone cold, untouched. The kids were asleep, and the house felt hollow. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over her contact. I wanted to call, to apologize again. But for what? Around midnight, the front door creaked open. I didn't move. She walked in quietly, keys jingling in her hand. You're still up? She asked. I was waiting, I said. For what? You don't need to. She brushed past me toward the hallway. Claire. She stopped. Can we talk? About what, Ethan? You want another fight? No. I need to know if we're okay. She exhaled loudly, rubbing her forehead. We're fine. I'm just tired. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and immediately flipped it over, face down. Who's that? I asked quietly. She glared at me. Seriously? It's just a question. You really think I'm cheating on you? She scoffed, laughing bitterly. Wow. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She crossed her arms. You've been acting paranoid for weeks. I'm not paranoid, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I feel like you're not here anymore. That's insane, she snapped. You're making something out of nothing. Then why do I feel like I'm losing you? Maybe because you're suffocating me, she shouted. The silence that followed felt like a knife. I didn't mean to, I whispered. Ethan, stop. Her voice broke slightly. I can't do this right now. She walked past me, into the bedroom, and shut the door. I stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling like I'd been locked out of my own life. The next day, I tried to shake it off. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was paranoid. People get distant. Work gets tough. Stress does things. But then, while folding laundry, I found it. Her work jacket. The one she wore almost every night. As I lifted it, a faint scent hit me, familiar, yet wrong. Not the perfume she used last night. Something else. A man's cologne. My chest tightened. It's nothing, I told myself. Maybe she hugged a coworker goodbye. Maybe someone brushed past her. I laughed under my breath, but it sounded forced, fake. I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to believe it. That evening, she came home smiling for the first time in weeks. Hey, she said lightly, dropping her bag. You made dinner? Yeah, I said. Thought we could eat together for once. Nice. She sat down, looking relaxed. I tried to read her face, but she seemed happy. Almost glowing. So, how was work? I asked. Busy, she replied between bites. We had a meeting with the regional manager. It went well. Her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it and immediately stood up. Sorry, it's work, she said quickly, stepping away. Claire, I said softly, it's dinner. I'll be right back. She walked into the hallway, voice low but hurried. I could barely make out her words. When she returned, I asked, that was work? She smiled faintly. Yeah, I told you. I nodded, even though I didn't believe her. After dinner, she kissed my cheek, a small, mechanical gesture, and went to bed early. I cleaned up alone, loading dishes into the sink. That's when I noticed her jacket again, slung over the chair. I picked it up and that same cologne hit me. My stomach twisted. I sat on the edge of the couch, jacket in hand, inhaling the scent I wished I could unsmell. It didn't belong in our home. It didn't belong on her. But I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Instead, I hung the jacket back where it was and whispered to myself, you trust her. You have to trust her. I told myself that lie again and again until the words lost meaning. When I finally crawled into bed beside her, she was already asleep, phone tucked under her pillow. I stared at the ceiling for hours, the silence pressing against my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. And for the first time in our marriage, I didn't feel alone because she wasn't there. I felt alone because she was. I bought the AirTag with trembling hands, feeling guilty the moment I left the store. I told myself it was just to prove myself wrong, just to put my paranoia to rest. But when I held it in my palm, small and cold, I felt the weight of every doubt I'd shoved aside. Back home, I waited until she was in the shower before slipping it under her car, wedging it carefully near the wheel well where it wouldn't be seen. My heart was hammering so hard I thought she'd hear it from upstairs. What are you doing? I whispered to the empty driveway, shaking. This isn't you, Ethan. This isn't you. I told myself that for the 10th time while wiping sweat off my palms. But when I synced the AirTag to my phone, my chest tightened. The little dot blipped to life, and I followed it silently, convinced it would lead nowhere, convince me that I was losing my mind. Hours passed. I stared at the screen, watching the dot move through familiar streets. Every turn, every stop I recognized, I exhaled a little, relief creeping in. Then it happened. The dot stopped. At an address I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, trying to rationalize it. It's nothing, I muttered. Maybe she ran an errand, a meeting. Just a meeting. I didn't move for the next hour, my thumb glued to the refresh button, watching her location like it was a heartbeat. She stayed there. Too long. The sun went down. The night grew quiet. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. Every sound outside made me jump. Every car passing sent a spike of panic through my chest. I called her once. Claire? You still at work? She laughed, light and carefree. No, Ethan. Why? Just making sure. My voice sounded calm, but my hands were shaking. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. Fine. I hung up before she could ask more. Midnight came. I didn't move from the couch. The dot still didn't change. I could feel every second dragging like a knife. I wanted to believe she was innocent, but the evidence, tiny, cruel, undeniable, was sitting right there in my hand. At 3 a.m., I finally heard the car pull in. My stomach clenched. I could hear her heels clicking on the driveway. She came in, still dressed, perfume faint but sharp in the air. Ethan, she called from the hallway. I didn't answer. I just watched her move, feeling every step cut through me. Why are you awake? She asked, walking into the kitchen. I could ask you the same thing, I said, keeping my voice even. Just couldn't sleep, she said lightly. Long day. I swallowed hard, forcing words out that felt like glass in my throat. You weren't at work, were you? Her eyes flickered, almost imperceptibly, and then she laughed, a sound meant to mock me, pity me. What are you talking about? I held up my phone. The AirTag. The screen still showing that unknown location. This. Care to explain? Her laugh stopped. She looked at me, wide-eyed. Ethan, you're insane. What is that? I didn't lower the phone. It's the truth. I trusted you. I didn't want to believe it. But the dot never lies, Claire. Ethan, it's... Don't lie to me. My voice was quiet but lethal. Not now. She flinched. I'm not lying. That's not what you think. I stepped closer. Then tell me. What is it? She shook her head. It's nothing. Just, a friend. I needed to talk. That's all. A friend? I repeated, voice tight. At 3 a.m, at his apartment, while lying to me? It's complicated, she yelled, finally raising her voice. It's not what you think. I shook my head, trying to keep my composure. Then make me understand. Make me believe you. She looked down, biting her lip. Her hands were trembling slightly. Ethan. I wanted attention. I blinked. Attention? Yes, she whispered. Don't you see? I was overwhelmed. You didn't. I felt like no one was listening. And he just listened. That's all. All? I said. My voice broke, a whisper that felt like thunder. All? She nodded, tears in her eyes now. I didn't mean for it to. Didn't mean to. I repeated, stepping back, my legs shaking. You mean to betray me every night, to lie to me, to go somewhere I can't follow? It wasn't like that, she cried. Not like that? I laughed bitterly. You want attention and you destroy everything in the process? Is that supposed to make sense? She reached for my hand. Please, Ethan, don't. I pulled away. Don't touch me. Don't speak. Not until I figure out if I even recognize you anymore. Her face fell. I still love you. I shook my head. Love doesn't sneak around while your spouse sleeps. Love doesn't need secrecy and lies. Her lips quivered. I thought I could handle it. You handled it? I shouted softly, fists clenched. You shattered it. You shattered me. 12 years, Claire. 2 kids, and you shattered it for attention. I'm sorry, she whispered. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said, voice hollow, eyes burning. Sorry doesn't erase where you went. Where you are. Where you've been. The room fell silent. I could hear our breaths, uneven, our hearts hammering. She looked at me, desperate, pleading. Ethan, please. I didn't. Save it. I held up my hand. I can't hear it. Not tonight. I backed away, phone still in my hand. The AirTag's little dot hadn't moved. She sat at the table, head in her hands. And I realized, with a cold clarity, that this was real. Not a lie. Not paranoia. She had chosen someone else. I felt my chest tighten, my jaw lock. Rage, disbelief, heartbreak, all tangled inside me like fire and ice. Go to bed, I said, voice low, steady. Tomorrow, we talk. She nodded, too stunned to speak. I turned away, phone still in hand, and sat on the couch, staring at the glow of that dot, the truth glowing in front of me. Hours passed. I didn't move. I didn't sleep. And for the first time, I felt completely, quietly broken. Because some truths don't hurt with words. They hurt with proof. I waited until the kids were asleep, heart hammering in my chest. She walked in, still dressed from the night before, hair slightly mussed as if nothing had happened. Claire, I said quietly, trying to keep calm. We need to talk. She looked at me, a flash of annoyance crossing her face. Ethan, it's late. Can this wait? No, I said, voice firmer this time. Not this. Not anymore. She sighed and flopped onto the couch. Fine. What is it? I held up my phone, AirTag app open, showing the dot frozen at that apartment. This. You tell me you were at work, but I know the truth. She blinked, face paling. Ethan, you're insane. I don't know what you're talking about. I have proof, I said, stepping closer. I've been following you, Claire. Do you know what it feels like to wake up and realize the person you trusted most has been lying to you for months? Her hands trembled. I didn't mean to. Don't, I snapped, voice rising. Don't say that. Not now. Not after 12 years, 2 kids, and this. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, please, you're overreacting. Overreacting? I laughed bitterly. Overreacting is thinking you could sneak out, go to his apartment, lie straight to my face, and I wouldn't find out. She shook her head. I needed attention. That's all. I froze. My chest tightened so hard I thought I might collapse. Attention? I whispered, barely able to speak. 12 years, Claire, and all you wanted was attention? Yes, she shouted, finally letting the words out. I felt invisible. You're always working, stressed, tired. He listened. He cared. Cared? I spat, voice breaking. Cared by lying to me? Cared by sneaking around at night? She flinched. I didn't think it would get this far. Not think it would get this far. I took a step closer, trying to control myself. You destroyed everything. Everything we built, everything I believed in. Her face crumpled, tears streaming down. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to. I shouted. You don't get it. You chose him. You didn't just lie, you left me completely alone. Do you even understand what that feels like? Ethan, Save it. I pointed at the door. I can't hear it. Not tonight. She shook, shoulders hunched, staring at the floor like a cornered animal. I was lonely, she whispered. I stepped back, holding my hands up, trying not to throw something, trying not to scream. Lonely? My voice cracked. I was here, Claire. I've always been here. And you go behind my back for attention? Yes, she cried. I couldn't. I felt like you didn't see me. I laughed hollowly, shaking my head. You think this makes sense? That betraying me, lying for months, sneaking into someone else's arms, that's how you make yourself seen? Her silence was deafening. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself anymore. The mask was gone. Just fear, guilt, and a faint hint of shame. I clenched my fists, feeling my body trembling with rage. My heart was broken, but it wasn't just grief anymore. It was fury, deep and icy. You know, I said slowly, trying to calm my voice, I could throw this phone across the room. I could break things. But what would that fix? Nothing. You've already broken us. She flinched at my words. Ethan, please. No, I shook my head. Not tonight. Not now. I need air. I grabbed my jacket and walked out the door. The cold hit me instantly. I didn't care. The night sky was dark, clouds heavy. A few drops of rain splashed on my face, cold and sharp. I lifted my head, letting it soak in. And that's when it hit me, fully, completely. I was alone. Completely alone in my marriage. 12 years. 2 kids. And she chose him. I could feel my throat tighten, my chest burning. My hands curled into fists. I didn't cry. Not yet. Not because I wasn't hurting, I was. I was broken in ways I couldn't even name, but tears wouldn't help. Anger, disbelief, and grief roared louder than anything else. I walked down the street, letting the rain soak through my clothes. The quiet around me was deafening, a mirror of the emptiness inside. She called it attention, I whispered under my breath, voice shaky. Attention. 12 years of my life, and she needed attention. I could still hear her words echoing in my head, every syllable stabbing me like a knife. I needed attention. I needed attention. I needed attention. I stopped at a street corner, looking up at the streetlights blurred by rain. My mind raced, memories flashing, dinners, birthdays, late nights I stayed up waiting for her, the nights I held her hand while she cried over work stress. All of it felt like it had been erased in one night. I tried to shake it off, tried to convince myself that maybe this was temporary, maybe she'd come back. But deep down, I knew. I knew that bridge had burned. She had chosen him. The rain fell harder, soaking my hair, running down my face. I didn't care. I didn't move. I didn't even notice the chill in my bones. The world was numb, and I let it be. I whispered her name once, softly, almost like a prayer. Claire. No answer, of course. Not here. Not anywhere. I took a deep breath, hands on my knees, shoulders heavy with grief. I had loved her with everything I had. Every ounce of me had been hers. And yet, here I was, betrayed, alone, and aching. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I didn't know if I'd confront her again, scream, cry, beg. All I knew was that tonight, in the rain, I felt the full weight of her choice. She chose him. And I was left standing in the dark, heartbroken, enraged, and utterly, completely alone. Weeks turned into months. The house was quieter than it had ever been, except for the occasional laughter of the kids, which felt almost foreign now. I'd stopped noticing her presence most of the time, even when she was there. Ethan, are you listening? Dr. Ray's voice pulled me from my thoughts. I'm here, I said, though my eyes were fixed on the floor. You're here physically, yes. But mentally? I shrugged. I don't know anymore. He leaned back, pen in hand. Why do you keep bleeding for someone who's already left? I flinched at the words. I don't know. I guess, maybe because I don't want to fail as a husband. Or maybe I'm trying to convince myself she'll come back. Dr. Ray nodded slowly. And does she? Come back? I closed my eyes. No. Not really. Then why stay? I didn't answer immediately. Silence stretched between us. Finally, I whispered, for the kids. I guess. Or maybe. I'm trying to save the man I used to be. The one who believed love could fix everything. Does it feel like love right now? He asked. No, my voice was barely audible. It feels like, waiting for a ghost. He didn't respond. I didn't need him to. The truth was there, hovering over me like smoke. Later that evening, Jenna came by. She sat down across from me in the living room, her expression serious. John, she said, using my nickname like she always did. You can't keep doing this to yourself. I'm not doing anything, I muttered, staring at my hands. Yes, you are, she said firmly. You're killing yourself trying to fix someone who's already gone. She's not coming back, and you know it. I can't just walk away from my family, I said, voice breaking. Your kids? Or her? She asked sharply. I didn't answer. I wanted to, but the truth felt like a knife. Maybe I was staying for both. Maybe just for the boy I used to be, the one who believed she would change. I know you're hurting, Jenna said softly. But you have to stop punishing yourself. You've done everything you could. You can't fix her. You can't fix what's gone. I nodded, silent, wishing her words were enough. A few days later, Mark called. John, man, you're killing yourself, he said. You're pouring your heart out to someone who's not even there. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. I can't just leave, I muttered. Then at least stop pretending it's going to get better, he said. Stop acting like you can save a ghost. His words stung. They hit the part of me that refused to see reality. But still, I stayed. One night, I noticed her phone light up while she was in the kitchen. A quick glance, another message. My stomach sank. She was still talking to him. I felt something inside me crack. I went to my room, slammed the door, and stared at the ceiling. Why? I whispered into the darkness. Why can't I let go? I tried to sleep, but the silence was heavy, suffocating. Every creak in the house sounded louder than usual, every shadow darker. I rolled onto my side, staring at the wall, seeing her face everywhere, every memory twisting like a knife. The next day, I went back to Dr. Ray. She's still messaging him, I said, voice hollow. I can feel it. I know it. I can't stop thinking about it. Dr. Ray looked at me with those calm eyes, the ones that made me feel exposed. John, why do you keep bleeding for someone who's already left? I closed my eyes, trying to hold back tears. Because I don't want to admit it. Because if I do, I have to admit that everything I believed in, everything we built, is gone. And if it is gone? I don't know, I said, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know who I am without it. He didn't answer. I knew he couldn't. I had to figure that out myself. That evening, I sat in the living room, kids playing quietly nearby. She was in the kitchen, humming softly, completely unaware, or pretending to be, that I had seen her phone light up again. I felt a mix of rage and despair. How could she act like nothing had changed? How could she still carry on as if our marriage was intact? I clenched my fists, trying to calm the storm inside. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand answers. But the truth was, she would never give me the answers I needed. Not fully. Later, Jenna called again. You can't keep doing this to yourself, John. Every day you wait, every moment you pretend it's not happening, you're losing yourself. I know, I whispered. But you don't act, she said firmly. You sit there and bleed. You tell yourself it's for the kids or for the man you used to be. But it's not. It's for her. And she doesn't deserve that power over you. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I hung up, staring at the phone. She was right. I had given her control over my emotions, my life. And I had let it happen quietly, day after day. I poured a glass of water, staring out the window. Rain had started again, soft and steady, mirroring the emptiness I felt inside. I realized then that I had been living in a half-world, pretending she could still be the person I married, the woman I trusted with my heart. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. That night, I sat with my hands on my knees, thinking about the months of therapy, the arguments, the messages I'd seen, the lies, the silences. Every conversation, every moment felt like it had led to this realization that I couldn't fix her. I couldn't make her care the way I wanted her to. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to start caring for myself instead. The thought was terrifying. Letting go was harder than anything I'd ever imagined. But I knew I couldn't keep bleeding for a ghost. I lay down, staring at the ceiling again, letting the silence fill the room. Not for her, not for anyone, just for me. I didn't know what the next day would bring. I didn't know if I'd find the courage to act, to set boundaries, to reclaim my life. All I knew was that for the first time in months, I felt the faintest spark of clarity. It was small, fragile, but it was there. And for the first time, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, someday, I could stop hurting. I was in the kitchen, mindlessly washing dishes, when my phone buzzed across the counter. I froze before picking it up. I shouldn't have, I knew it. But I couldn't stop myself. There it was again. Another message. From him. From the one I hated more than anyone else on the planet. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even drop the dish in my hand. I just stared. Silent. My chest felt tight, every breath deliberate. She walked in behind me, hair in a messy bun, sweat on her brow from whatever excuse she was making herself believe. Ethan? I didn't answer. I just kept staring at the screen, watching the message glow, her name above it. She leaned against the counter. What is it? I turned slowly, holding the phone in front of her face. This, I said quietly, each word heavy. Still. You're still talking to him. Her eyes widened, and I almost expected her to apologize. Instead, she smirked. Ethan, you're overreacting. I don't know why you. I cut her off. Overreacting? My voice was low, calm, terrifyingly calm. You call sneaking behind my back, months of lies, overreacting? Her smirk faltered. It's not what you think, she said, voice tight. I shook my head. Not what I think. Claire, I've seen enough to know exactly what you're doing. And I'm done pretending otherwise. She took a step back. Done pretending? What are you talking about? I opened the cabinet, pulled out a bag I had stashed months ago for emergencies, and started stuffing clothes inside. Her confusion turned into panic. Ethan. What are you doing? She asked, voice rising. I didn't look at her. Packing, I said simply. Something I should have done a long time ago. Packing? For what? For somewhere you can't lie to me anymore. I kept my voice even, though the words burned like fire in my chest. She froze, mouth slightly open. Where are you going? I zipped the bag, slinging it over my shoulder. Somewhere I can sleep without fear. Somewhere I don't have to check my phone every 5 minutes to see if you've chosen someone else over me again. Her hands shook slightly. Ethan, you can't just leave. We have the kids. We have. I held up my hand. Don't. Don't speak. Not until I figure out what I need to do for me. Not for you, not for anyone else. Her face crumpled, and I realized she wasn't angry anymore. She was cornered, and for once, powerless. I walked past her into the hall, keys in hand. My heart was racing, but strangely, lighter. The air felt different. I could breathe. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Ethan, please, her voice was desperate now, soft. Almost human. Where are you going to stay? I'm staying with Jenna, I said simply. Her spare room. It's safe. It's quiet. And no one will lie to me there. She shook her head. You can't just abandon us. Abandon the kids. I stopped, hands gripping the doorframe, and looked back at her. I'm not abandoning them. I'm protecting them, and myself. If I stay here, I'll be a ghost too, Claire. You've already taken everything else. She didn't respond. Her lips trembled, and I could see her trying to form words, but nothing came out. I walked outside. The night air hit me, sharp and cold. I felt every drop of rain on my face as if it was washing away the weight of months of lies, betrayal, and heartbreak. I climbed into my car, feeling the leather seat beneath me, the keys in my hand, the bag next to me. I started the engine, but didn't move immediately. I just sat there, staring at the house, at the life I had built, at the woman who had chosen someone else. Tears pricked my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not now. Not for her. I whispered to myself, almost a prayer, I'm done. I'm done being the one who stays, who hopes, who suffers silently. I drove to Jenna's house. The streets were wet, reflections of streetlights shimmering like shards of glass. I held the wheel tight, mind racing with 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 what-ifs. When I arrived, Jenna was waiting on the porch. She didn't ask questions. She just opened the door, letting me in. Welcome home, she said softly, guiding me to the spare room. I stepped inside. It was small, plain, but it smelled like safety. I set my bag down, letting my shoulders slump. For the first time in months, I didn't feel the weight pressing on my chest. You okay? Jenna asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. I shook my head slowly. No. But. I will be. I have to be. She nodded. Good. That's all I wanted to hear. I sat on the bed, listening to the quiet of the house, the hum of the heater. No arguments. No lies. No messages buzzing across a screen. Just quiet. I could finally hear my own thoughts. My own heartbeat. My own pain. I thought about the kids. I thought about Claire. I thought about all the moments I had given her, all the times I had tried, hoped, forgiven. And then I thought about myself. And for the first time, I felt something other than pain. Something like strength. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if I would ever forgive her, if we would ever talk, if my heart would ever fully heal. But I knew this, I had taken the first step. I had taken control. I lay down on the spare bed, listening to the silence around me. The faint sound of rain tapping against the window was almost musical, soothing. I let myself breathe deeply, feeling my chest rise and fall. For the first time in months, I slept without fear. And even though the wound in my heart still ached, even though betrayal still lingered like a shadow, I knew I was no longer a prisoner. I had chosen myself. Somewhere between the rain and the silence, I realized that liberation didn't need fireworks. It didn't need drama. It just needed a decision, a simple, irrevocable decision to no longer live for someone who had already left. I whispered into the darkness, more to myself than anyone else, I'm free. And for the first time in months, it felt true. Months passed. Life felt strange, quiet, and heavy in a different way. I wasn't the same man who had stormed out that rainy night. I was quieter now, slower to react, but somehow stronger. I was back at work, focused, trying to rebuild what had fallen apart inside me. My boss noticed, complimented me on my dedication, and for the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. At home, the kids were learning new routines. I started having dinner with them every night, reading bedtime stories, helping with homework. Sometimes, I caught their eyes and realized how much they had missed me being present. "Dad, can we play after homework?" my daughter asked one evening. "Of course," I said, ruffling her hair. "We have all the time in the world." Her laughter filled the living room, a sound that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. One afternoon, Jenna called. "John, can I come over for a minute?" "Sure," I said. She arrived, holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed me one. "How's life treating you?" "Better," I said, taking a sip. "Slowly. But better." She smiled knowingly. "I can tell. You're lighter somehow. Less haunted." I laughed softly. "It's taken a while. Therapy helps. And honestly, just removing myself from that situation." She nodded. "Good. You deserve peace." Weeks later, I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, when my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize flashed on the screen. I hesitated. Then answered. "Hello? John?" The voice trembled, shaky. I froze. "Claire?" "Yes, it's me," she said, quiet. I made a mistake. I set down the knife, took a deep breath. "I know what you're saying," I said evenly. "Anne. I don't feel anything like anger anymore." Her silence was loud. You're not mad?" "No," I said, voice calm, steady. "I feel peace. I've been living, Claire. Moving on. For the kids, for me. And I don't need anything from you anymore." I interrupted gently. "I don't need your apologies. I don't need your excuses. I've learned something important. Revenge isn't about shouting, breaking things, or making someone suffer. Revenge is living well without the person who destroyed you." Her voice broke. I'm sorry, John. I never wanted. I never meant." "Claire," I said softly, "whatever happened, happened. You can't take back what you did. But I don't need to carry it anymore. I've chosen myself." She swallowed audibly. You sound different. Stronger." "I've had to be," I said. "Months of therapy, time with the kids, rebuilding work, rebuilding me. It hasn't been easy. But it's worth it." Her voice shook again. "Anne. Lucas? He left me. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." I closed my eyes briefly. "I see." There was silence. Then she whispered, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said clearly. "I don't hate you. I pity the choices you made. But I don't hate you. I can't waste my energy on anger anymore. She didn't respond for a long moment. I just wanted you to know. I know, I said. And I wish you well, truly. But I'm not a part of your life anymore. And I don't want to be. I understand, she said, almost inaudibly. I hung up, setting the phone on the counter. The calm I felt was almost surreal. Not numb, not empty, just free. I turned to my kids, who were sitting at the table doing homework. Hey, I said, smiling. Who wants dessert? Me, they shouted, and I laughed, letting the joy in. Later, I told Jenna about the call. She reached out, I said, sipping coffee. And, she asked, raising an eyebrow. And, nothing. Nothing at all, I said, smiling genuinely. I feel nothing. And that's the point. Good, Jenna said, clinking her mug against mine. You've learned the best revenge of all, living your life without her. I nodded. Exactly. It's quiet. It's slow. But it's so much stronger than anything I could have done in anger. Work kept me busy, but now I wasn't drowning in it. I was rebuilding my life, step by step. New projects, new colleagues who respected me. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. One evening, after the kids were asleep, I sat in the living room, looking at a photo of our family from happier times. I felt a pang of sadness, yes, but it wasn't grief that crushed me anymore. It was memory. A memory I could honor without being trapped in it. I whispered to myself, I'm finally living for me. Sometimes, I caught glimpses of Claire online, her social circles shrinking, friends avoiding her. I didn't feel satisfaction or glee. I felt nothing. Because revenge had already happened in the most powerful way. She had lost the one thing that could define her over me. And I had gained myself. I spent more time with the kids, taking them to the park, helping with projects, listening to their stories. Every laugh, every hug, every simple, I love you, Dad, reminded me why I had fought to survive this emotionally. One morning, I got a text from her again. Can we talk? I read it, set the phone down, and walked away. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The calm inside me was stronger than any curiosity, any old habit. I realized then that living well was the ultimate revenge. Not screaming, not confrontation, not manipulation, just thriving without the person who tried to destroy you. I poured a glass of water, looking out the window at the sunlight glinting off the streets. For the first time, I didn't feel the shadow of betrayal hovering over me. I felt alive. And in that quiet, ordinary moment, I understood what it meant to be free. I had survived. I had healed. And I had reclaimed my life piece by piece. The kids ran past me, laughing, chasing each other around the kitchen. I laughed too, letting myself get caught in their joy. I whispered to myself again, almost like a mantra, I am free. I am whole. I am enough. Months of therapy, months of pain, months of rebuilding had led to this. Not revenge in the traditional sense, not satisfaction in seeing her fail, but peace. Calm. Independence. And it was stronger than any anger I had ever felt. I poured another cup of coffee and sat down, watching the sun rise higher. The world moved on. I moved on. I was no longer a shadow of my past. I was myself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely, undeniably alive. I sat at the small desk in Jenna's spare room, the pen hovering over a blank sheet of paper. I wasn't sure why I was doing this. Maybe it was the last thread tying me to what had happened, the last weight I needed to release. I started writing. Claire, I whispered aloud, the words strange on my tongue. I don't need you to read this. You won't. This isn't for you. It's for me. I paused, tapping the pen against the paper. My hand shook slightly, not with anger, not with grief, but with something quieter. Something I hadn't felt in months, clarity. I began, thank you. Thank you for showing me what real love isn't. Thank you for teaching me how far someone can go when they stop caring. I chuckled softly to myself. I guess that's a lesson in its own twisted way. The pen moved faster. I wrote about the nights I stayed up wondering if I had done enough, said enough, tried enough. I admitted my flaws, my patience, my constant hope that she would come back to me, not because she deserved it, but because I thought love meant endurance. I see now, I muttered, scratching out a line and starting again. I was enough. I am enough. And I don't need anyone who can't recognize that. I wrote about the kids, about the moments of laughter and joy that had pulled me through the dark months. I wrote about the freedom I was finally feeling, the independence I had reclaimed, the calm that had replaced rage. The words flowed from me like water I had been damming for too long. At one point, Jenna knocked gently on the door. "Everything okay in here?" "Yeah," I said without looking up. "Just finishing something." She smiled faintly, understanding. "Good. Take your time." When I looked back at the letter, I realized I had poured everything into it: anger, sorrow, lessons, gratitude. A strange mix of bitterness and peace. I set the pen down and read the words aloud. "Claire, I forgive you, not for you, but for me. I forgive myself for believing that love should hurt this much. I forgive the past, because it's no longer mine to carry. I wish you nothing. Nothing but the understanding that what we had was never meant to destroy me." I folded the paper slowly. I held it for a long moment, staring at it like it was some fragile relic of the life I had lived, the life I was leaving behind. "Time to let go," I whispered. I walked outside to the small backyard behind Jenna's house. The wind was brisk, carrying the scent of rain from earlier in the day. I lit the paper carefully, watching the flames curl and consume the words I had spent so long holding on to. The fire hissed, black smoke twisting upward. I felt a rush of relief, a weight lifting from my chest. As the last edge of the paper turned to ash, I scattered it into the wind. I watched it drift, small particles of the past floating away. I smiled, a real smile. Not forced. Not heavy with tears. Just me. I leaned against the railing, feeling the cold metal under my hands, breathing in the air. I thought about all the nights I had lain awake, wondering if I could survive the betrayal. I had. I survived. I thrived. Jenna came out behind me, standing quietly. "Feeling better?" she asked. "I am," I said. "I feel free. Lighter than I have in a long time." It's strange how a little ceremony like that can make everything feel different. "It's not strange," she said softly. "It's closure. You needed it." "I think I did," I admitted. "I've spent so long trying to fight something I couldn't control. Now I just live. That's all." The kids ran past us, chasing each other and shouting. I laughed, letting their voices wrap around me like a blanket. For the first time, I didn't feel the shadow of betrayal looming. I was present, fully here, fully alive. I thought about Claire one last time, not with anger, not with longing, but with the quiet understanding that some people enter your life to teach you lessons you can't learn any other way. She had taught me the hardest lesson of all, the strength to survive myself. I went back inside, brushing ash from my hands. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down by the window. The morning light spilled across the room, warm and comforting. I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. "I am enough," I whispered to myself again, letting the words sink in. "I am whole. I am enough." My phone buzzed, a message from work, another from Jenna checking in. Life was moving forward. I didn't need to check Claire's life anymore, didn't need to hold on to the past. I smiled again, sipping my coffee. The bitterness of betrayal had faded. What remained was clarity, self-worth, and freedom. I looked out the window, watching the sun climb higher in the sky. For the first time, I truly understood that some endings are beginnings in disguise. And I was ready. A year had passed. The months had stitched themselves together quietly, leaving me calmer, stronger, and unrecognizable to the man I had been. I never thought I'd get here, never imagined I'd breathe without carrying that weight of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak. "Dad, look! I can swing higher!" Lily shouted, her laughter ringing through the park. I smiled, pushing her gently. "That's it, Lily. Higher. Touch the sky if you can." Noah ran past, chasing a butterfly. Dad! Come catch me. I laughed, letting them run, feeling the sun warm my back. For the first time in so long, I felt present, not trapped in memories, not replaying old arguments, not watching every word, every glance, looking for betrayal. Dad, do you think Mom would like to see us here? Lily asked, swinging back toward me. I paused, choosing my words carefully. Maybe. But right now, this is our time. Just us. She nodded, content. Okay. I leaned back against the bench, watching them, feeling the calm spread inside me. A year ago, I would have been pacing, questioning, obsessing. Now, I simply watched, smiled, and felt peace. Jenna came up behind me, carrying 2 water bottles. You're glowing, you know that? I took one and smiled. I'm learning. It took a long time, but I finally understand what it means to live for myself and my kids, not for a memory or a person who hurt me. She plopped down on the bench beside me. I've seen it. You're lighter. Not empty, not bitter. You're whole. Whole, I repeated, tasting the word. It's a strange thing, isn't it? I spent so long fighting for something I couldn't have, I forgot how to fight for myself. Jenna nodded. Most people never do. You did, John. And it shows. The kids ran toward the swings again. I watched them, the joy in their movements, the carefreeness of their laughter. I realized something I hadn't in months: I survived. I survived something I thought would destroy me. I smiled, thinking back on everything. The betrayal, the lies, the sleepless nights, the therapy, the confrontations, the letters burned in the wind. All of it had been a brutal teacher, but I had learned. I had changed. Dad, race you to the slide. Noah yelled. I got up, laughing. You're on. We ran together, and for a moment, I forgot everything except this: the wind in my hair, my kids' laughter, the warmth of the sun, the feeling of running without fear. Later, we sat on the grass, eating sandwiches. I watched them, noticing how much they had grown, how resilient they were, how much life was still ahead of them. You look happy, Dad, Lily said, licking her fingers. I am, I admitted. I really am. Do you miss Mom? Noah asked hesitantly. I paused, taking a breath. I don't hate her. I don't love her either. I just wish her well. Why? Lily asked, curious. Because holding on to anger, holding on to pain, it only keeps me from living. I've learned to love myself enough not to look back. Jenna smiled from nearby, proud. That's a lesson most people take decades to learn. You've done it in 1 year. I laughed softly. It wasn't easy. Some days, it felt impossible. But I had to do it, for me, for them, for the life we deserved. A gentle breeze swept past, carrying the scent of flowers and fresh grass. I closed my eyes, feeling it on my face. It was a small moment, but it felt enormous. Freedom, peace, and self-respect, all in one breath. Dad, Noah said suddenly, tugging at my sleeve. Can we come back tomorrow? Of course, I said, smiling. We'll make it a routine. Every day we can, we'll come back and enjoy this. The kids ran off again, and I watched them, feeling my chest expand with gratitude. The park wasn't just a park. It wasn't just laughter and swings. It was life, moving forward. And I was moving with it. Later that evening, Jenna and I sat on the porch, watching the sky turn orange and pink. You've changed, John, she said softly. You're different. Calmer. Stronger. But not closed off. That's rare. I had to change, I said. I had to stop defining myself through someone else's betrayal. I had to reclaim who I was, and who I could be. You've done it, she said, smiling. And you've done it beautifully. I sipped my coffee, looking at the fading light. I don't know if I ever truly understood love before. I thought love meant sacrifice, devotion, endless patience. And it does, but I also learned it means respect. It means patience with myself. It means choosing peace over anger. Choosing myself over bitterness. Jenna nodded. And now you have that. Fully. I smiled. Yes. Fully. And that's why I don't look back. I don't regret the past, because it made me who I am. But I also don't need to carry it anymore. I can just live. The kids ran past again, laughing and shouting. I joined them briefly, swinging Noah higher, spinning Lily until she screamed with delight. My heart felt light. Joyful. Free. When I finally sat back down, the sunset painted the sky in colors that felt like promise. I realized something then: love didn't die. It changed. It transformed. It became self-respect, patience, and peace. I whispered softly, mostly to myself, I survived. I thrived. And I love myself enough not to look back. For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because I had someone to complete me, not because I had been avenged or proven right, but because I had chosen me. And that choice, that freedom, that love for myself, was more than enough. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I held my children close, watching them laugh, feeling their warmth. I didn't need closure from anyone else anymore. I had it within me. I was finally the man I had to become. Strong, calm, and free. And for the first time in a long time, I felt entirely alive.